Single bed fully fashioned decreases are worked with the triple prong transfer tool, moving a group of 3 edge stitches in by 1 stitch. This offsets the decrease from the selvage edge of the work, which makes seaming and linking a bit easier in assembly. Even though we're moving 3 stitches, we're still only performing a single decrease. Don't forget to move the emptied needle into non-working position before knitting the next pass. Single bed fully fashioned increases are performed with the 3x1 transfer tool. First, by moving a group of 3 stitches out away from the center of the work, and then using the single prong end of the tool to pick up a purl bar from an adjacent stitch in the row below to fill in the empty needle. If the empty needle is not filled in, a run or an eyelet will form. It can be a bit difficult at first to know that you're picking up the correct purl bar or the head of the loop in the stitch in the row below. But if you pull the needle butt back towards the rail, it'll help expose the loop to pick up. Double bed fully fashioned decreases are worked much in the same way as the single bed version, by moving a group of 2, 3, 4, or more stitches in towards the center of the work by 1 stitch. This must be worked on both the main bed and the river bed, meaning that all fully fashioned decreases are worked 2 stitches at a time. It's important to maintain the proper weight as you knit double bed. 7 wires and the small barrel weights will be very helpful in making sure that the end stitches knit cleanly as you're increasing and decreasing. It's also important to remember when working in double bed not to introduce any new needles in your needle setup. So as an example, in 1x1 rib, I'm moving each group of 2 stitches over by more than 1 needle on the needle bed, but I'm maintaining the 1x1 needle setup that I've got in work here. If you work with more advanced double bed knit structures like fisherman's rib, half fisherman's rib, you will be moving the tucked floats as well as the single stitches, whatever's on the needle transfer. Double bed fully fashioned increases are worked in the same way as their single bed counterpart, in that they produce an empty needle that must be filled in to avoid an eyelet. Because I'm moving 4 ribs or 4 stitches out from the center of the work to create my increase, and I'm using the triple prong tool, I've got to be mindful of making sure that if I accidentally pick up that centermost needle, I push it back out of work to maintain my 1x1 needle setup. It can be pretty tricky to fill in the empty needle with a purl bar from an adjacent stitch in the row below, but with practice, you'll improve. In theory, it works the same as the single bed. Draw the needle butt back to help expose the purl bar that you choose to pick up to fill in, to be able to see it a little bit better. Sometimes it's helpful to pull the needles that you've increased by out to holding position to help the carriage knit a little bit more smoothly across the bed. This only works though if you're knitting plain. Needles in hold position will ignore the cam functions should you have any selected.